Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 30th Partners of Stoughton Hospital Love Light celebration. Started 30 years ago when we started honoring, recognizing, and remembering people that were important to us, important in our lives. This year, as we have for the past 29 years, we'll be honoring those that are close to us, honoring those that we respect, that we're thankful for. We'll be once again recognizing our veterans and the freedoms we enjoy because of their service. Also, I hope this year we take a minute to simply stop and recognize our healthcare providers and the people that support them, and really those people that take care of others in our community during this second year of the pandemic. Finally, we'll pay tribute to those that are no longer with us, but are certainly in our memories and in our hearts. So I want to thank our wonderful partners of Stoughton Hospital. I want to thank them for their resiliency and their creativity as they continue to support the hospital and its mission during this pandemic period, this past year. And I also want to thank the Stoughton community that's really come together and worked together to create a safe environment for us and for our kids, for our schools, and for the people that matter to us in our lives. So with that, I have the honor of introducing Josh Ripp, the fire chief for the city of Stoughton. And Josh, I will turn it over to you.
Thanks for having me. So just to kind of talk about the Stoughton Fire Department, we are presently at 36 members, 2 full-time, 1 3/4-time person, and the rest as professional volunteers. So kind of talking about what happened when COVID struck, so to speak. When that happened, I was 1 week into my job before everything kind of started hitting pretty hard. So for me, it made life a little more difficult as we're trying to get into the swing of things and figure out how to do this, everything that we had to make up as we went along in some respects. So, there were a lot of changes to protocols, a lot of discussions with our members using the guidelines available from CDC and health departments to try and make sure that we kept all of our members as safe as we possibly could. There was a lot of stress as we were trying to figure out what the best practices were. We made some changes in our PPE deployments. We, as were everyone else, were really amping up to really protect our members in every way possible, and there wasn't a single stitch of protective gear really available. So we were borrowing and stealing to make sure we were staffed and equipped to go. Now, on an emotional level, it really started taking its toll. The fire department is generally a pretty, we work in groups. That is how we do business. And especially the early parts of the pandemic really caused us a lot of consternation because those groups that we normally got together in, our trainings once a week, being able to congregate at the station, all of that came to a screeching halt. Operationally, we also had to change how we staffed our vehicles. We normally have 6 seats on most of our big trucks, and we would fill all of them to go out the door. And we pulled that back to 4 so that we could keep distancing as close as we could. We were equipping all of our trucks with the disposable N95 masks, deconning things afterwards, and it got to be very taxing emotionally just because there's so many additional things. But over time, everyone kind of got, we got settled into whatever the new routine you want to call it is. Settled in, we figured out what best practices work. We're able to pull back on some of those protections that we'd initially put together. Because we found out, or it was found out, that we didn't have to decon every single thing every time that we went somewhere to the nth degree. I mean, we were to the point of washing our bunker gear if we were on a call just for a random in someone's house. And bunker gear takes about 4 hours to wash and dry and put back in service. So that puts that firefighter out of service for that duration until their gear is able to be put back together. So, but we've made it a few years. The new staffing in the rigs has actually shown to be kind of an advantage for us in getting a few more trucks out the door in the way we need it. The staff is really come together and working together on this, reminding each other about PPE, keeping track of each other, and really on an emotional level, trying to keep each other in check and make sure that everyone is doing well. The mental health became a huge subject for us to deal with and to make sure that everyone was in a good spot when we got to that, started going down these roads, because it was obvious that things were really different. Some of the other challenges, like everywhere with large groups, we have varying political and ideologies that we are just making work together. And life has been, I won't say easy, but we're getting into a new groove. So from our aspect, I will pass off to Lisa Schimmelfeld, the Director of Stoughton Area EMS.
Hi, thanks for asking us to be a part of this. That's very nice to be included in things. It just doesn't seem like there's been a whole lot of inclusion actually anywhere, given what's going on in our world with COVID. So even though it's on a computer, it's nice to be a part of something. I just want to speak to this more in the honor of what I consider to be our true community healthcare heroes. And that's going to be the 44 members of Stoughton area EMS, who really over the past 20 months have very humbly and quietly and courageously stepped into what was unknown and still in some aspects is unknown, to continue to answer the call, who continue to expose themselves to a danger that can't be seen and a harm that can't be calculated. It's to honor those whose understanding of duty came to know very few bounds, and whose compassionate care of their neighbors, friends, and family just couldn't be restrained. It is with a definite grace that our members accepted the challenges that came with a biohazard response over 3,000 times since this began. So though our future remains a bit uncertain, I can't thank those members enough for what they have done and continued to do for our community. We are truly blessed. Cindy McGlynn, on to you.
Thank you, Lisa. I can't tell you how proud I am to work for the city of Stoughton, and both Josh and Lisa really exemplify why we're very lucky in Stoughton. For the senior center, we had to close our doors, which was very difficult. Our mission is to try to include as many people and to enhance their lives and to provide social and educational opportunities, which we were not able to do within our walls. And for many decades, this is what we've been doing. So I have to, again, as Lisa and Josh have talked about, just to push all of the light on our staff. They took it to heart of how to, in a very short amount of time, to try to serve their clients and our participants the best way they could in a, as we've all talked about, an unknown, I'm not sure how to do this, but let's try our best. And they knocked it out of the park. They were creative. They were willing to do lots of different things. We, of course, other than a couple days, continued doing Meals on Wheels for our most vulnerable population. But again, we couldn't use our regular volunteers because our regular volunteers were over the age of 60. So we had to call our friends and our coworkers and other agencies to come and help us. Many of those were city employees, were different companies that said, hey, we can step in and help out. So we did not stop doing that. Our case managers made calls to all of their clients, did case management over the phone, which is not the best way, but it was the only way we could do it for a while. We also did drop-offs on people's front porches, and we, made do that way. We also started a couple different things. We did drive-through meals because people couldn't come in and eat. So we provided the drive-through meals for folks, which really turned into kind of a socialization, kind of a fun activity. People just love to see us. They love to get out. They couldn't go out, but they could drive through in their car. So we had a lot of fun doing that. We had years wanted to do kind of how do we take the senior center out to folks in their homes. And so we did that. We started virtual activities. We connected people throughout the country with virtual classes and fun activities. We did a couple ourselves. We did some trivia activities that were very fun, and people had a great time, and really just trying to connect people. We started some volunteers who just made friendly calls to folks. We knew who were isolated and maybe didn't have really anybody. And so we connected with some volunteers to make sure people were just talking to someone else. So we tried very hard to conduct our senior center business outside of our walls. We were very thankful when we could open our doors again and welcome people back in. We're still not back to all business as usual, but we're sure trying. We will continue some of our virtual programming because we know that there are folks who can't make it in here. So we, if we find a bright spot during this, that was one of them. It really forced our hand on trying to be creative. So I think we did very well that way. Again, just want to thank our staff and those volunteers who stepped forward. We're just really thankful for that. So now I'm going to hand it over to Donna Olson and Becky Greiber, and they'll start reading the names.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you all for everything that you have done during our COVID times and everything that you do each and every day. It reminds us about what a great community Stoughton is, and what and how fortunate we all are to have you here. Thank you. We'd like to read the following names, and the lights have been sponsored on our love light trees in memory of the following people: Linda Aaron, Francine Aberly, Donna Algram, Michelle Albert, Janet Allwart, Donald Alshouse, Linda Altenberg, William Amundsen, Gary Anderson, Jane Anderson, Janet Anderson, Julie Anderson, Susan Anderson, Jean Antoine, Deanna Applehans, Herbert Armstrong, Sheila Armstrong, Alice Asselson, John Asselson, Roger Avi, Christopher Augustin, Barbara Austin, Kevin Backham, Baby Boy Bartolone, Mary Bass, Wilma Bombach, Thomas Beatty, Don Beckwith, Daryl Bell, Isla Bell, Justin Block, Viola Blum, Nicholas Giovanni, Linda Borchardt, Matthew Borling, Gerald Bozak,
Jacqueline Bowser, Brenny departed family members, Lenny Bronte, Betty Rudnicki, Kevin Bullock, Sienna Bullock, Ronald L. Buss, Yvonne Call, Todd Carlson, Thomas Castry, Jeffrey Christensen, Julie Churchill, Josephine Clower, Mary Ann Coleman, Judith Crichton, Clyde Cross, Amal Dahl, Raymond Daigle, Arlen DeBeer, John DeBellick, Beverly DeGroat, Jody Densmore, Ken Devlin, Kurt and Lucille Dixon, Virginia Dodson, Patricia Droz, Robert Drugsville, Kathy Dreyer, Robert Dvorak, Maya Edmonds, Juanita Erke, Jacob Ike, Karen Kari Elsner, John Emmerich, Dick Entwistle, Richard Erdahl, Ruth Erickson.
Sydney Erickson, Judith Esperson, Joe Esser, John Ewing, William M. Farrow, Leander and Elda Mae Filio, Susan Veit, Earl Fossen, Boris Frank, Terry Kiss Frank, Jeffrey Freitag, Charles Friedley, Peter Famusa, Michelle Fyan Christensen, Francis Ganshert, Bryce Bud Gardner, Martin Gasson, Wendy Geyer, Brandon Geiger, Ronald Geischert, Esther and Paul Gibbs, James Ginther, Donald Gray, Phil Grefsheim, Barbara Grimm, Gerald Gunderson, Artis Geeland, Percy Geeland, Gerald Hagan, Tom Haley, William Halverson, Marie Hanson, Patricia Hanson, Sheila Hanson, Shirley Hanson, Denise Herride,
Rose Herride, Robert Harrison Sr., Eugene Hartle, Lawrence Harvey, William Harvey, George Hauge, Stephen Hauge, Joy Haugen, Lyman and Christine Hawkinson, Bill Hawkinson, Lonnie R. Hain, Ronald Heinsroth, Rhonda Heise, Alan Helly, Albert Hemmersbach, Eleonora Hemmersbach, to her, Delwyn Hernstein, David Hicks, Ron Hillis Sr., Lena Hinton, Donald Hocking, Robert Hole, Lonnie Hoiberg, Sonia Horner, Doris Huzik, Ann Hoskins, Inez Haugen, Aaron Arneson Howard, Linda Howe, Robert Hubrid, Evelyn Hubrid, Alan Huizinga, Christy Hund, Jeffrey Baum.
Michael Iverson, Clarence Jacobson, Tyler Jarrett, Dale Jeffsick, Karen Jenny, Marilyn Jerdee, Gloria Johnson, Jim Johnson, Patrick Johnson, Rodney Johnson, Wendy Johnson, Sherry Jones, Berlin Call, Geneva Kennedy, James Kennedy, Jan Kennedy, Bill and Sarah Calander, Lori Kiss, Kittleson Loved Ones, Lance Kleeman, Bertha Bert Klitsky, Louise Kluge, Franklin Knox, William Cook, Beverly Kohler, Phyllis Kolsef, Ronald Kopp, Carolyn Kramer, Daryl Krenz, Sanderson Crutchen, Julia Lafuse, Richard Lambert, Wanda Lance, Leonard Lane, Delbert Lang, Teresa Lanke,
Mary Larson, Nikki Larson, Alice Laurent, Shirley Lizotte, James Lacey, Ku Lee, Sua Lee, Brian Likeness, Clarice Linderud, Ronald Liskey, Ann Lobenstein, Gary Logan, Jeffrey Lohman, loved ones, Eric Lisney, Stanley Maybe, Gertrude Trudy McLaren, Art Mertz, Cliff Mertz, Wayne Mertz, John Mant, Phil Manson, Marion B.M. Marker, Mary Mall, Robert McGee, Willard McClymans, Sanan Medina, Philip Mell, Shirley Matree, Patricia Mickelson, Alice Mickelson, Dr. Mike Miller, George and Audrey Miller, Jill Miller, Raymond Miller, Lyle Moe.
Sewing Mom, Jean Morris, Karen Morris, Karen Moy, James Murray Jr., John Neath, Betty Nelson, Marilyn Nelson, Shelby Nelson, Susan Nelson, Shelby Joe Nelson Bartz, Ronald Newman, Joshua Neinfeld, Lorraine Norby, Tanner North Thalligant, Thomas Novak, Alan Nygaard, Shirley Nygaard, Rita Odland, Brent Olson, David Lee Olson, Gregory Olson, Lila Olson, Corbin Olson, Sonia Olsted, Richard Anshrud, Otilio Pacano, Artis Fundheller, Dennis Hintz, Carlton Pokrant, John Pritchard, Joni Prue, Madonna Prue, James Qualley, Georgine and Alfred Quam, Molly Kiram,
Maureen Rand, Eric Michael Reese, Elizabeth Betty Reinstead, Ruby Revels, Catherine Richmond, Mary Ritterbush, Brenda Rint, Conrad and Gladys Ring, Mabel Ring, John Rip, Roger Rolla, Stephen Rosso, Edmund Ross, James Rutherford, Michael Rutland, Francis Sanders, Marion Sargent, Brian Shield, Diane Schmerling, Sharon Schmudlock, Myrtle Schneider, Kelvin Schneller, Timothy Schneezy, Donna Swans, Robert Schwartz, Darcy Simonson, David Severson, Donna Shellhammer, Joseph Shirk, John Syme, Wayne Simpson, Lucille and Frank Sissons, Lillian Smithbath, Stanley Solheim, Lloyd Sorensen, Ainsley Spate, Gregory Standard, Edward Starsovich, Gary Stevens,
Stephen Stick, Carolyn Stockman, Beverly Storley, Jerome Storley, Dorothy Stormer, Betty Strand, Strandley family members who have passed, David Stronach, Orpha Savola, Jerry Sumwalt, Betsy Sivlo, Bruce Teague, Bao Thao, Feng Thao, Mary Thompson, George Tincher, Mildred A. Tower, Robert J. Tower, Robert R. Tower, Shirley Troy, Noam Samo, Gary Tucker, Doris Tyler, Eleanor Ushman, Leon Vag, Chua Vang, Mao Vang, Nia Vang, Jerry Vanderthout, Paul Binney, Carol Wallin, Ron Walder, Dale Walls, Catherine Warren, Jane Weber,
Barry Wendt, Anna Mae and Ernst Wurzlin, Lillian Wurzlin, Peter and Elizabeth Wurzlin, Richard Wurzlin, Kathy Wirtz, Charles West, James Whitcomb, Joyce Wilt, Wilma Wilkie, Jim Williams, Al and Gail Wallenzine, Carl Walter, Dorothy Wood, Barklin Wyatt, Joy Singh, Fritz Jan, Richard Yingstall, Jeffrey Zarth, Alan Zelm, Judith Zemke.
Lights have also been turned on our Love Light trees in honor of Mike and Karen Ayers, all dedicated health providers and staff. Denver Appelhan's family, Georgia Geiger, Grant Appelhan's family, Joe and Luann Jansen, urgent care nurse Julie, Jerry and Bonnie Kratz, Leo, Isaac, Sosie, and Kelly May, Tessa Mersberger, RN, Molly and Max, Judine Reese, Dwayne and Marno Stelmacher family, Stoughton Health employees, Stoughton Health team, Stoughton Hospital nurses, and Helen Sumwalt.
And we light the military tree in recognition of Richard Byens, Bob Elsner, Brian Hoffmeister, Lieutenant Colonel Robert Kellum, Lieutenant Colonel Julie Kellum, Lowell E. Kittleson, David H. Markle, Urban Showers, and veterans. We would like to end our Love Light program with a poem written by Dr. Gina P. Lundberg. And the people went to work and wore masks and paper gowns and cared for the feverish and weak and bathed them and fed them and took them for testing and fluffed their pillows and gave them medications and IV fluids and held their hands and wiped their brows and tried to give comfort. Someone listened, someone wept, someone prayed, and the people learned about the virus, and most people got better, and some people died. And the visitors were unable to come, and the schools and churches closed, and the people appreciated the doctors and nurses, and the people thanked the first responders, and they were steadfast in their calling as healthcare workers. We would like to thank all those who participated in our Love Light program, both our speakers and all who donated. Thank you.